Okay, so NBA Finals. Now the obvious is Giannis needs to be healthy for the Bucks. I'm going to do this whole thing assuming that he's going to play. If he doesn't, or if he's barely out there or whatever, then I assume Phoenix is going to win, and that's that. So, as I casually mention Giannis throughout this whole video, if it's not him, it's Bobby Portis in his place, and well, that's just not going to go the Bucks' way. The first thing I want to think about is how the Bucks will defend Phoenix, and how aggressive will the Bucks defense be on screens. I mean, if they do the super drop coverage like they did in Game 1 against Atlanta, then I think Chris Paul and Devin Booker are going to be walking into easy open mid-rangers, and that's not going to work. That said, if the defense is more aggressive, whether it's stepping up a little bit more from Brook Lopez and then backing up with those guys, whether it's switching, which they did in the tail end of the Hawks series, then the next question is, one, is Brook Lopez ready to do that? Because Devin Booker, while he's not always into the shoot the three immediately off of a screen, I feel like he'll kind of do it, especially if you just give him the extra second or whatever. And with CP is so good at forcing the big to switch to him, and then from there it's like, well, maybe DeAndre Ayton's got to post up, maybe CP can just beat Brook Lopez off the dribble. But the other thing is, if they're not going to switch, then it's like it could open up just a lot of DeAndre Ayton stuff at the rim, which means then the Bucks are going to have to bring extra attention around the basket. And I think this goes into like, who is Giannis going to be guarding? Again, assuming he's playing. I would imagine the first thing is Giannis on Jay Crowder, which allows him to be more of a help guy. So if Ayton's rolling to the rim and Brook Lopez already stepped up on the guard, then Giannis is going to have to slide over to the rim on top of somebody else probably, so you're not just giving up DeAndre and lobs all day. And so then it's like, well, how are you going to cover the shooter? I mean, these are basic basketball things, I know, but this is partly why Phoenix is so good. They got guys who can shoot everywhere. I mean, is the series just going to come down to if Jay Crowder goes 4 for 9 or 1 for 9 from outside? I could picture at least one game being swung that way. I would also give the Bucks the potential of closing out to him if they need to. I would also give them the potential of just pulling Brook Lopez if he really can't survive defensively in the series. Of course, Brook is always going to get minutes, but we have seen them go to just Giannis as the lone big guy or whatever it may be. The other things to think about with the Bucks defense is just who are the on-ball defenders, like who are the assignments. Obviously, it's going to change as the game goes on, and transition defense, switching, and all that stuff I know. But just thinking about the matchups, is it PJ Tucker on Devin Booker? Is it Drew on CP? And then Chris Middleton, I guess, on like Mikal Bridges? Are you trying Middleton on CP for a size advantage? Is Giannis going to be an on-ball defender much in this, or is he going to be looked at as more of a help guy? Again, putting him on Crowder or Bridges or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see just how the Bucks want to balance that whole thing. I mean, I don't think there's anybody who's really going to cause problems for Devin Booker like that, but if Giannis was guarding him for a couple minute stretch, I want to see what happens there, you know? Or is it just going to be PJ Tucker because he's the one guy who they're willing to have spend that much energy on defense? I think the question for the Bucks perimeter defenders is, can they keep Chris Paul in front of them? So is he going to beat Middleton, Drew, PJ Tucker, Connaughton, whoever off the dribble? And can they overwhelm Booker with extra attention? Because I do think Booker can get by them, but whether he can consistently make the right pass, assuming that the Bucks defense has some creativity to it, like you bring the extra defender in a way to where the next pass is not obvious, we'll see. I mean, we've seen the Suns kill double teams and that sort of thing these whole playoffs. But maybe the Bucks can do that sort of thing better than any other opponent. I think the next thing to think about is when or if the Suns will get back to a lot of the off-ball stuff that has worked for them. You know, remember like in the Lakers Game 1, they ran that like curl play for Booker that killed them. Against the Clippers, they ran some of those free throw line screens that got them some good looks. Are we going to get back to that stuff? Are they going to do more of the down screens and trying to find ways to get Mikal Bridges cutting to the rim, which was the first play they ran against the Clippers? Hopefully it's a lot of that stuff and not just screen, Chris Paul, methodical offense, mid-range jumper. I know it was successful against the Clippers in Game 6, and it's not like that can never work. It's just sometimes Phoenix does that a little too much. And for the Bucks' sake, I mean, if they're going to be switching a lot, that could sort of dare Phoenix or egg on Phoenix to do that more. There's not really a mismatch guy on Milwaukee that the Suns can target unless it's like Bryn Forbes. And we'll have to see. I mean, if the Suns are not guarding PJ Tucker at all, and that proves to be too big of a problem to where it doesn't matter what he's giving you on defense, then the Bucks might be forced to go with a shooter out there. And I mean, Bryn Forbes is more of the shooter, less of a defender. Pat Connaughton, I guess, is the ideal medium between PJ Tucker and Bryn Forbes. Do we trust Pat Connaughton to give you like 25 minutes of good basketball in the NBA Finals? We'll have to see. And the last thing to think about with Phoenix's offense is how much of DeAndre Ayton is there going to be. I mean, my guess is not a whole lot of post-ups when he's defended by Brook Lopez, because I am assuming it's the typical center defending center for the Bucks on defense in this series. But again, it's like when they get into the screen action, and if they want to try some off-ball stuff where Ayton is setting screens maybe along the baseline, and then in that moment, the Bucks, they either switch it, and then there's a matchup for Ayton, and then does he go right into the post and they dump it off to him? Or maybe the Bucks try to get around that action, and then that could just open up something for somebody else. So we'll see there. I definitely give Ayton a chance to have some big games against the Bucks. Now, to think about the Bucks offense and how the Suns will guard them, the first question I have is, will they put DeAndre Ayton on Giannis as the primary defender, similar to how the Nets did with Blake Griffin? Or will they go to Jay Crowder? Now, if it is going to be Ayton, that means that you're putting a wing player, probably Crowder, on Brook Lopez. Maybe it's Bridges on Lopez, I don't know. And then it becomes a matter of, will the Bucks throw the ball to Lopez in the post? They, of course, did in Game 5 against the Hawks, but a lot of the time it's not their main thing. This also could open up more offensive rebounding opportunities for Milwaukee if Lopez has a wing on him. Now, if Ayton is defending Giannis in half-court sets, I would imagine he'll be backing up off of him, which then opens up the possibilities of the handoff action with, to me, the ideal guy being Middleton, and then it's a matter of, can Ayton step up fast enough to disrupt that two-man game? Now, if Bridges is the one defending Middleton in that sort of action, then that'll help Ayton, of course. The other thing there, if Ayton is on Giannis, is what is the perfect distance to back up off of Giannis to where you don't give him too big of a runway? I guess in a way that applies regardless of who's defending him. So I know there's this stat going around on Twitter a little bit on when defended by DeAndre and Giannis is whatever for whatever. So we'll see. I mean, I think the best thing the Bucks can do is get Ayton moving laterally if he's defending Giannis, and again, screens, handoff action is a good way. Now, if Giannis is being defended by, let's say, Jay Crowder or Mikal Bridges more, then I think it opens up more of his stuff along the baseline, those ISOs, the left block, post-ups, or whatever you want to call them. The other thing is, would the Suns be more willing to switch Giannis screens if Ayton is not involved in them? I guess depending on the matchup, like if it's Bridges who ends up switching to Giannis, they're fine with that. But what if Giannis sets a screen for Devin Booker's guy? Or let's say it's PJ Tucker, maybe he just sets a screen for Giannis, just trying to get Booker guarding Giannis in some way. The other obvious thing when dealing with Giannis is how willing are the Suns to leave Bucks shooters, specifically PJ Tucker and Brook Lopez. And then the question after that is, will we see cutters to the basket off of Giannis drives, Middleton or whoever? I think we've seen PJ Tucker do it a little bit. And also, will we see guys in the dunker spot on the opposite side of the basket, or do the Bucks fear that the spacing could get messed up too much? I do think Phoenix will do a good job of throwing extra guys at Giannis while not just giving up open threes to Middleton or Drew all day. I could also picture them doing a good job of reaching in on Giannis, especially Mikal Bridges and CP. The other thing with Giannis, it's pretty obvious, but the free throw shooting. I mean, if he goes 4 for 11 one game, that could be the difference. He could also go 11 for 11, and that's massive. Regardless, assuming he's out there again, he's going to get a lot of trips to the free throw line. I wonder if the Suns will have to go to Torrey Craig more than they would really like to if they need more defenders on Giannis. And anyway, now I think about the other guys, Middleton and Drew. I am concerned with Drew. He's had enough bad games these playoffs. I do think this Phoenix defense could overwhelm him a bit. I mean, again, maybe it's CP on him, maybe it's Middleton or Mikal Bridges, excuse me. But regardless, Phoenix, they're going to bring help, they're going to close out to shooters, and this Bucks team has a couple guys you're willing to leave open. So we'll just see how Drew handles all of that. I mean, I mentioned the two-man game. If Ayton is sagging off of Giannis, if he's guarding him, that could open up some driving lanes or pull-up jumpers for Drew. Now, if Ayton is defending Lopez, then maybe Drew could get some opportunities just going straight at Ayton with some Lopez screens. And to think about Middleton, I mean, I have the same thing with Middleton all the time. It's just how much off-ball movement are we going to get for the guy? How much of it is Giannis screening to make his day a little easier? Because I just see all the possessions where he has to create for himself. And yeah, there's definitely games where he's totally fine. He'll make every tough jump shot, every mid-range fadeaway that you need from him. And other times he just looks really overwhelmed and he just can't do it, right? Because, I mean, it's Chris Middleton. It's not Kevin Durant. So then it's like, can you get him some down screens? Can you try to get him cut into the basket? Can you just do any sort of off-ball stuff to help him out? Similar thing with Drew, but definitely with Middleton. But this Phoenix team is so good defensively that it's not going to be the easiest thing. To throw out just some general stuff, hopefully the Bucks' intensity on defense is there from the beginning, because they did need a bit of a wake-up call in that Hawks series, which was in Game 5, when they started switching like almost everything and it was really effective. Don't know if that would be as effective against this Suns team. Not that they can't switch ever. I mean, they probably should switch on some of the off-ball stuff. And the other thing would be the Suns' offense getting back to running specific things and looking for Ayton rather than being like really slow and just taking bad jump shots all day. To make a pick, it's going to be the most lame pick ever. If Giannis is healthy, I think the Bucks will win. If he's not, I pick Phoenix. As far as what constitutes not healthy, I don't know. If he only plays 2 games in this series, I think Phoenix is going to win. If he plays like 5, then I think it's going to be the Bucks. Bucks in 6 would be my official pick. If Giannis can't go, it's Suns in like 5. And I say that because, number 1, they have the best player. Number 2, I think this Bucks defense woke up at the tail end of the Hawks series, and I think Budenholzer has shown to be making the adjustments. I mean, the guys are playing the minutes they need to play. He's going to the smaller lineups when he needs to. They're switching everything when they need to. He's doing everything that people have been yelling at him to do. So, I mean, what more is there than to assume he's going to keep doing it?